If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. Sharing it with your friends and family helps spread knowledge. And when we help others grow, we grow too. Thank you so much for listening. Let's dive into the podcast. The discovery of Elizabeth Short's body. The morning sun cast long shadows across the vacant lot on Norton Avenue when Betty Bersinger stepped out for her daily walk. She pushed her 3-year-old daughter's stroller along the quiet street, expecting nothing more than fresh air and exercise. What she found instead would haunt Los Angeles forever. At first glance, Betty thought she saw a broken store mannequin lying in the weedy grass. The pale figure was cut cleanly in half at the waist, positioned with disturbing precision 15 feet from the sidewalk. Something felt wrong. Store mannequins don't draw flies. Betty moved closer, her heart beginning to race. The morning light revealed the horrible truth. This was no mannequin. This was a woman, drained of blood and arranged like a grotesque display. Her arms were positioned above her head, her legs spread wide. The killer had carved a smile from ear to ear across her face. The body showed signs of torture that police would later struggle to describe in their reports. Every detail suggested someone had taken their time, working with surgical precision. The grass around the body remained undisturbed, as if she had been placed there like a piece of artwork. Betty grabbed her daughter and ran to the nearest house, pounding on the door with shaking fists. Within minutes, police cars filled Norton Avenue. Officers stood in stunned silence as they processed what lay before them. Even seasoned detectives had never seen anything quite like this. News reporters arrived before the coroner finished his examination. Cameras flashed as crowds gathered behind police barriers. The story spread through Los Angeles like wildfire. Newspapers couldn't print editions fast enough to satisfy public hunger for details. The victim remained nameless for days. Police found no identification, no personal belongings, nothing to suggest who she might be. Her fingerprints finally provided the answer that would make this case legendary. She was Elizabeth Short, a 22-year-old woman from Massachusetts who had come to Hollywood seeking fame. The press seized on her story with ruthless efficiency. They learned she often wore black clothes and had dark hair. Someone whispered the nickname that would stick forever: the Black Dahlia. The name captured something dark about the murder that fascinated the public. Here was a beautiful young woman, destroyed in the most horrible way imaginable. The case became more than a crime. It became a symbol of Hollywood's hidden darkness, a reminder that dreams could turn into nightmares. The killer had vanished without leaving a single useful clue. No witnesses saw anything suspicious. No evidence pointed toward any particular suspect. The case that began with such shocking brutality would become America's most famous unsolved murder, a puzzle that continues to baffle investigators more than 70 years later. The early police investigation and suspect pursuit. The police worked through the night, hoping for answers. Elizabeth Short's fingerprints told them who she was, but little else. Her prints sat on file from a small arrest years before. Within hours, they knew her name and age. 22 years old, black hair, dreams of Hollywood stardom. Detective Harry Hansen walked through her last known address, a small room with few belongings. Her clothes hung neatly in the closet. Letters from home sat tied with ribbon. Everything looked normal, almost peaceful. Nothing suggested the horror that would follow. The investigation grew fast, too fast perhaps. Phone calls poured in from across the city. Everyone had seen Elizabeth. Everyone knew something. Most of these tips led nowhere, but police had to check them all. Robert Manley became their first real suspect, a married salesman who admitted to dating Elizabeth days before her death. He seemed nervous during questioning. His story changed slightly each time he told it. He claimed he dropped her at a hotel and never saw her again. The police pressed him hard, but his alibi held firm. Mark Hansen owned the house where Elizabeth sometimes stayed, a nightclub owner with connections throughout the city. Police searched his property twice. They found nothing suspicious, yet something about him bothered the detectives. His answers came too quickly. His smile seemed forced. The forensic tools of 1947 offered little help. No DNA testing, no advanced fingerprint databases. The crime scene had been contaminated by curious onlookers before police arrived. Evidence that might solve the case today was lost forever. False confessions became a daily nightmare. Men walked into police stations claiming they killed Elizabeth. Some seemed genuinely disturbed. Others wanted attention. Each confession required hours of investigation. Each one proved false, wasting precious time and resources. Witnesses contradicted each other constantly. One person saw Elizabeth at a restaurant on Tuesday. Another swore they saw her Thursday. Some descriptions matched perfectly. Others made her sound like a different person entirely. Memory proved unreliable, even among honest people trying to help. The press demanded answers. Headlines screamed for justice. Politicians called for quick results. This pressure pushed detectives to move faster than careful investigation allowed. They chased weak leads because they needed progress to show the public. Each dead end created new questions. Why did Elizabeth leave her belongings behind? Who was the mysterious man several witnesses mentioned? Why were her personal effects never found? The investigation spiraled outward, touching dozens of lives, creating more puzzles than solutions. Within weeks, the case file grew thick with interviews, tips, and theories. Yet Elizabeth Short remained silent, her secrets buried deeper than ever. The more they searched, the more the truth seemed to slip away. The crime scene mysteries and forensic challenges. The dusty boxes sat in storage for 70 years before someone finally opened them again. Inside were photographs that had never seen daylight, pictures that might change everything we thought we knew about Elizabeth Short's death. When detectives first examined these forgotten images in 2017, something felt wrong. The crime scene looked different than what the official reports described. Shadows fell in strange places. Objects appeared where they shouldn't have been. One photograph showed tire marks in the dirt near where Elizabeth's body was found. The original investigation had missed these completely. The marks suggested two different vehicles had been there that morning. This raised a troubling question. Had more than one person been involved? Another image revealed something even more puzzling. Small pieces of fabric were scattered around the scene, but they didn't match Elizabeth's clothing. The fabric was expensive silk, black with tiny silver threads. Someone wealthy had been there. Modern forensic experts studied these pictures with tools that didn't exist in 1947. They found inconsistencies that made their stomachs turn. The original medical examiner had made serious mistakes. Time of death was wrong. The position of the body had been changed before police arrived. Computer analysis revealed something shocking about the infamous smile carved into Elizabeth's face. The cuts were made by two different hands. One person was right-handed, the other left-handed. The killer had not worked alone. Blood spatter patterns told another disturbing story. Elizabeth had been murdered somewhere else, then carefully moved to the vacant lot. But traces of her blood appeared in 3 separate locations around Los Angeles. She had been transported multiple times before being left for discovery. Hidden in the background of one photograph was a partial license plate number. For decades, nobody had noticed the small reflection in a broken piece of glass. The numbers led investigators to a car registered to a prominent businessman who had died in 1963. His family still lived in the city. DNA technology brought more surprises. Hair samples collected from Elizabeth's body contain genetic material from at least 4 different people. Some of these individuals were clearly involved in her death. Others might have been witnesses who never came forward. The most disturbing discovery came from examining the crime scene lighting. The killer had arranged Elizabeth's body to be found at exactly the right moment, when morning shadows would hide certain details. This suggested someone with knowledge of photography and theatrical staging. Each new piece of evidence painted a darker picture. Elizabeth Short hadn't been the victim of one deranged killer. She had walked into something much more organized and sinister than anyone had imagined. Controversies and conspiracies among suspects. The whispers began decades after Elizabeth Short's body was found in that vacant lot. In the shadows of Los Angeles, new names started to surface. Names that would make people wonder if the real truth had been buried all along. Dr. George Hodel lived in a strange house on Franklin Avenue. The house looked like something from another world, with its odd angles and dark corners. Hodel was a brilliant doctor who knew famous people and threw wild parties. But his son Steve would later claim something terrible about his father. Steve Hodel became a detective himself. Years after his father died, he found old photos hidden away. Photos that made his blood run cold. He believed these pictures showed Elizabeth Short in his childhood home. Steve wrote books and gave interviews, saying his father was the Black Dahlia killer. The evidence seemed compelling at first glance. Hodel knew about surgery. He could cut a body the way Elizabeth's had been cut. He lived near where she was found. Police had even watched his house in 1950, recording strange conversations through hidden microphones. But other experts shook their heads. The photos were too blurry, they said. The timeline didn't match perfectly. How could anyone be certain after so many years? Then there was Leslie Dillon, a man whose story twisted through the case like smoke, a hotel bellhop from Miami. Dillon had written letters to a police psychiatrist about the murder. The letters contained details that made investigators curious, very curious. Police brought Dillon to Los Angeles in secret. They held him for days without charging him. Some say they tortured him for information. Others claim he knew too much to be innocent. Dillon later sued the police, saying they had destroyed his life over lies. The strangest part was how the police handled both men. Files went missing. Evidence disappeared. Witnesses changed their stories or stayed silent. It felt like powerful people wanted certain facts to remain hidden. Why would police cover up the truth? Some believe corruption ran deep in 1940s Los Angeles. Rich men could buy their way out of trouble. Important families protected their secrets. The murder of one young woman might matter less than keeping the wrong people happy. Others think the conspiracy theories grew because the real answer was too ordinary. Sometimes there is no grand plan, no hidden truth waiting to be found. Sometimes evil acts happen, and the guilty simply disappear into the crowd. But the questions linger like ghosts in the California night, refusing to rest. The lingering unresolved mystery and cultural legacy. The phone calls started coming in almost immediately. Men claimed they killed Elizabeth Short. Women said they witnessed the crime. Neighbors whispered about suspicious activities they remembered from years past. Over 70 years, more than 50 people have confessed to the Black Dahlia murder. Each confession brought hope. Each one crumbled under investigation. One man wrote detailed letters describing the killing. Police traced his handwriting and found he lived across the country when Elizabeth died. Another confessed on his deathbed, but his timeline made no sense. A third provided vivid descriptions that matched newspaper reports perfectly. Too perfectly. The confessions keep coming because something about this case pulls at people's minds. They want to solve what experts cannot. They crave the attention that comes with claiming such a famous crime. But why do false confessions feel so real? Psychologists say some people genuinely believe their own stories. Others seek fame or punishment for different guilt. A few simply want to be part of something bigger than themselves. The theories multiply faster than the confessions. Was Elizabeth killed by a doctor with surgical knowledge? The clean cuts suggested medical training. Did a jealous lover end her life? Her beauty attracted many admirers. Could organized crime have silenced her? Los Angeles in 1947 was full of dangerous people. Each theory sounds possible until you examine the evidence closely. The medical knowledge could have come from books. The lover might never have existed. The crime connections remain pure speculation. Something strange happened while investigators chased these leads. The Black Dahlia case stopped being just a murder investigation. It became a story that wouldn't die. Hollywood noticed first. Movies turned Elizabeth into a mysterious femme fatale. Books painted her as either innocent victim or dangerous seductress. Television shows promised to solve the case in 60 minutes. The real Elizabeth Short disappeared beneath these fictional versions. She became whoever each storyteller needed her to be. Her actual life, the struggles of a young woman seeking stardom, mattered less than the dramatic possibilities her death created. This transformation reveals something troubling about human nature. We prefer compelling mysteries to messy truths. A beautiful young woman brutally murdered makes better entertainment than most real stories. The case files remain open in Los Angeles. New detectives occasionally review the evidence. Technology advances offer fresh possibilities for old clues. But after more than 7 decades, the trail has grown cold beyond recognition. Perhaps that's exactly why the Black Dahlia endures. Solved mysteries lose their power. Answered questions stop haunting us. Elizabeth Short's killer took her life and unknowingly created something that would outlive them both. A mystery that refuses to die. The truth may be buried forever, but the questions keep us searching.